Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Curot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2018 horror comedy titled In Fabric. Now, In Fabric runs for 1 hour and 58 minutes long. It is directed by Peter Strickland. It is produced by Andrew Starkey. The script was written by Peter Strickland. The score was done by a group called Cavern of Antimatter. The cinematography by Ari Wegner, and it was edited by Matthias Fekete. And the stars of the movie are Maryanne Jean-Baptiste, Hayley Squires, Leo Bill, Jaygann Ayeh, Gwendoline Christie, Julian Barratt, Steve Oram, Barry Adamson, Richard Bremmer, Terry Bird, Fatma Mohamed, and Sidse Barratt Knudsen. Our needs and wants have always been humanity's best pleasures, but while at the same time, it can also be our biggest flaws. When you see a certain thing that you so much desire, it certainly comes at a cheap price. The opportunity in you always plays out more than what your head is telling you. You see it, you want it, you take it, no matter what the consequences that comes with that item. Written and directed by Peter Strickland, In Fabric is a bit of a fetishist take, executed complete with an unorthodox and creative vibe, along with the sociological message about how consumerism is both manipulative and dangerous. Maybe even to some extent opportunistic as well. With a mixed combination of British kitchen sink drama combined with the Italian style giallo seductiveness, In Fabric stars Maryanne Jean-Baptiste taking the leading role duties as Sheila, a bank teller whose life is taking on a downward spiral, who seems desperately in need to unwind. Set in the early 70s Great Britain, Sheila's work consists of being under the constant watchful eyes of her superiors, played by Julian Barratt and Steve Oram. They play the bank managers. Their names are Stash and Clive. She's just gone through a nasty divorce and is stuck under the care of her ungrateful son Vince, played by Jaygann Ayeh, and his much older girlfriend Gwen, played by Gwendoline Christie. Desperate in finding a new lover, she goes through the ads only to end up dating losers. One day, she walks into Dentley and Soper's department store to purchase a red dress for her next date that was on sale for 80%, so obviously that was on a 60% discount, so to speak. That's what I'm trying to say. Sheila takes the offer that's too foolishly hard to miss. Hey, why did this door open suddenly? I'm sorry about that. I don't understand why that door opened, but okay. Strickland has a habit of creating mood and character in replace of a narrative. Jean-Baptiste is not just playing Sheila, she is Sheila. She knows that she's in the peak of being middle-aged. Her chances of dating men are becoming more scarce, and that the pressures going on in her life are so overwhelming. She just wants to find something or some kind of place to unwind. I mean, wouldn't you be if you're under the constant watchful eyes of your bosses, watching your every move and step you make? And then you also have to deal with the conflicts involving your adult son and his much older girlfriend. And also, you know, of course, the trials and tribulations of being a divorced woman. It just seems just so natural fitting that she just needed a chance to unwind. She probably might get paid, but she doesn't get paid a lot because she's just a bank teller. So when she sees a dress that has a 60% discount, it's just like a bright shiny red apple from a tree that looks so red, so juicy, that it's just so ripe for the picking. That you look at that dress or you look at that apple and says, "Oh, that's so good. I just want to just rip it out of the tree." The same could be said for the dress. The dress seems so pretty. It just seems so cheap that you just need to get that dress. That's just how Sheila feels. Of course, she needs some time to unwind. And this could probably be her make it or break it moment. She could either come out big, or she's just going to have to spend the rest of her life as a lonely widow. Obviously, her son and her girlfriend isn't going to probably provide much of a legacy when she goes. So this is her only opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, then I guess there is no hope. All the while, in spite of the surrealism this movie possesses, Sheila manages to keep a straight face on the things that she's dealing with, especially the men she's dating, and always at the same Greek restaurant with a very eccentric working staff. But the thing is that in Sheila's world, sometimes I think she's probably like, in this parallel universe, the only really true sane person. You know that most of the characters, I would probably say about 90 to maybe 95% of the characters, everyone around her just seems really weird. They seem to talk in this cryptic tone of voice. They always seem to have creepy, breaking the fourth wall type of looks. Their eyes always seem to come across glossy. They have these kind of manipulative, somewhat over-the-top grins that doesn't look like a comforting smile, but more closer to maniacal. Their tones of voice always sounds kind of maniacal. You know, kind of like the, "Sounds delightful, my dear. Come in and try my dress. You put it on and you will never regret the day you did wear it," or something like that. You know, that's the way how most of the characters speak. I mean, there's just something so unorthodox with the atmosphere of this movie that Sometimes I think Sheila might be the only sane character. And it seems that Sheila's normalcy is actually the character that sticks out sort of like a sore thumb, because the majority of the characters featured here are just so weird. The employees at Dentley and Soper department store have this strange staff, but none could be more unorthodox than the store owner, Miss Luckmore. I mean, she's just in wonderful Strickland, played by a regular Strickland fantastic actress in Fatma Mohamed, who persuades Sheila into buying the dress without the reminder that behind this opportunistic dress holds an evil curse. And that evil curse is that anybody who wears this dress, you're pretty much signing your death warrant. No disputes about it. Anybody who puts the dress on, you could pretty much say it's nice knowing you. It appears that this dress has this kind of clinging on type of persona with it. It's like it doesn't like to get put in the washing machine. You may probably end up throwing away the dress, but the dress will come back to you. Yes, that's right, folks. This dress is possessed. And if you buy it, it's going to be clinging on to you for life. And if you try to sabotage it in any way, shape, or form, it's a curse. It will get you somehow, some way, in the end. And once you put it on, no one is safe. There is no doubt that the characters in Fabric are very flawed, but instead of delving into their flaws, we embrace it and to see what path leads to next. Sure, the subject of consumerism is pretty much omnipresent throughout in the whole movie. The fashion industry is the focal subject matter, where our head says no, but our desires say yes. There is some fine use of seductiveness coming from that dress from hell, especially focusing on the nipples of the mannequins from the catalogs. Even the macabre Miss Luckmore is lost in her own fondness. There is a lot of interesting, somewhat unorthodox, and somewhat unsettling tensions within the confines of this movie. The cinematography and the visuals are absolutely quite stunning, especially coming from this movie is very, very much low budget. It could easily be, almost feels like a direct-to-video thing. I don't know if it was actually released very long in the theaters. Probably not. Not many people know about the movie in Fabric. But if you ever do see it, it's weird. It's definitely a almost 2-hour long showcase of weirdness. When you leave watching this movie, you'll probably be like, what the hell just happened? There is a lot of mind games in this. Mind you, there's not a lot of body counts, but anybody who wears the dress is screwed. And I think from what I gather 3 people actually tried on the dress, and all 3 of those people met their fate somewhere in the end. The ending also has a lot of strange vibes going for it too. Because, like once you put on the dress will find a way to kill its victims, and then Jesus Christ, why does this door keep opening? Once you put on the dress, it's guaranteed it will kill you some way. I think 3 people actually did suffer their fates in the end, including our leading protagonist, Sheila, who actually dies halfway through the movie, but she's not the only one to. And then, this is kind of a little bit strange here, because you see, our leading protagonist dies halfway through the movie, but then the movie doesn't really end. It just picks up for another protagonist. And then, eventually she tries on the dress, and then she meets her fate. And then in a simple little game of truth or dare, a male character puts on the dress, as because he failed some kind of truth or dare type of thing. So as a dare, he put on the dress, and inevitably even he meets his fate. In the end, we actually see the 3 people who had put on the dress, who met their fate, and now they're in some kind of parallel universe, some kind of purgatory, where they start making red dresses with the fabrics coming from their own blood. Yeah. I did try to warn you that this movie was weird. And I know a little bit about weird, being kind of weird myself. But this is about as unorthodox as it gets. Don't say I didn't warn you. But just when you think that everything is predictable, Strickland adds a new twist to throw to its viewers, kind of like a curveball one did not expect, including adding another character into the mix, a washing machine repairman named Reg Sparks, played by Leo Bill. The first half of the film concentrates primarily on the obsession of fetish and fashion, and about how consumerism pushes the boundaries of our materialistic ways we live. The second half revels in the possession and is dealt with a very comedic fashion. The film, seen from the observational skills, tends to dwell on the viewers faster than it does for Sheila. And I'm not saying that she is naive, but she is easily taken advantage of due to desperation, admiration, and a retail bargain that's so hard to neglect, not informed of what lies beneath. So we're not actually debunking Sheila in any way or form. We're not saying she's naive and that she's just here to take an opportunity. But it's just that she's not taking the opportunity. The opportunity is coming to her. And this is kind of like what the dangers that consumerism has to people. So there is a bit of a sociological dynamics to this movie. I mean, I might be overpraising this movie a lot, but I'm not saying that this is a gold standards type of movie. This is not going to win Oscars or anything like that. But, it just gives you kind of a clear observation of what it's like. I mean, okay, The dress is pretty much a metaphor. But it seems like, whenever you walk into a store and, I mean, this movie could have been for a guy too, like if there was a nice fancy suit lying like at a department store and you want to buy that suit because it's so cheap, but it's so trendy that you just can't resist the temptations of walking away from an offer like this. I mean, they're selling a big trendy, suit and tie for a price that's like more than half off. It's that you look at it and you say, I gotta have it. People will make these kind of deals. And people will just buy into it. It doesn't necessarily mean that these individuals are naive. I mean, but just, kind of like opportunistic. And when opportunity knocks, you just gotta invite it in. So it could have been anything. For a kid, it could have been a toy that's being sold for half price, only to realize that the toy could have been, possessed by some demonic entity. This dress, for example, is possessed by some kind of demonic entity. Like I said, in this movie, the level of sanity is kind of really highly questioned because everyone in this movie seems to talk, act, and seems to interact in some kind of unorthodox fashion. And it's like, do people actually talk like that? Sometimes I begin to wonder myself. There's no bother to dissect any deep-rooted philosophies depicted here. Strickland's movie always manages to remain cerebral and is generally just meant for escapist fun. So, this is not necessarily going to change your lives because we'll always be tempted by stuff that looks trendy and is also at a convenient price. Our consumeristic views on things will always be, the epicenter to our temptations. But in the end, it's pretty much more escapist than to be deep-rooted. I know I'm trying to sound like this movie was so deep-rooted, when really, it really isn't. But it's just that I kind of have a better understanding or a better gist of what's going on around me. I'm pretty much, when I watch a movie or a review a movie, it's mostly based off of observation more than anything. It may try to have an underlying message behind it, but it's more of a commentary rather than getting out any kind of message. There is no real moral lessons to it because what's the point anyway? We never really learn from the lessons in life that we get out of movies. So then you say to yourself, why bother? But in the end, this movie was interesting. It was weird. It was fascinating. And horror movies don't necessarily have to come to the price where we would have 20 or 30 dead bodies. No, only 3 people really met their fate in this movie. Just anybody who puts on the dress. And the thing is about the dress is that it's indestructible. And yeah, even though the entity in the movie is not really present, it's the dress itself that is the villain in the story. And even after Bentley and Soper's goes down in flames, a fireman, tries to clean up the rubble, and everything has perished. Except for one thing. The red dress. Which means that the red dress will probably be put on display at some other store. And of course, once again, it's back to the drawing board. History is just going to repeat itself. So if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would give In Fabric a 7.5 out of 10. So I really highly recommend you see this movie. Don't expect a lot because this movie is pretty much mostly escapist fun. It's weird. It's visually stunning. And it does give a commentary about the dangers of consumerism. And whenever you go out to a store to buy something, try and be careful. Be safe, everyone. So I guess this ends my ride review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.